Go.
Alrighty, and I'll just mute myself and leave you to it.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Jasper.
Thank you.
Okay. Screening as part of Monsterfest across Australia is a film called On the Edge. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the writer, directors, lead actresses of On the Edge, Jen and Sylvia Soska. Welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Oh, thank you for having us, Peter.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Peter.
I remember last time we spoke was when you had the film American Mary screening in Australia.
Oh my gosh,
And that
it's been
goes
10
back.
years.
Yes.
That's impossible because none of us have aged. How did it happen?
You're absolutely right. We look exactly the same. But and I still remember speaking to you and what a terrific time that was talking to you about that film. And of course, you've made a number of other films in between. But tell me about the inspiration behind On the Edge, which will put a lot of audiences on the edge.
Oh, so well said, Peter. It's funny because Jennifer and I have been doing a lot of studio movies and between doing independent films, and those are, I love working on them, but a lot of the time there's certain things you can't touch, there's certain things you can't talk about. And I kind of blame Making Rabid where this idea came from, because we studied David Cronenberg so thoroughly. And I remember some people getting mad at him and saying, why do you always kill these women in these explicit ways? And he's like, well, those are my heterosexual sexual fantasies. And I thought, ooh, I didn't know you could make movies that are your sexual fantasies. And then when I met David after Making Rabid, he was talking about having creative control and how he's never gotten to make something 100% without something changing. And I was like, ooh, well, maybe Jen and I should do something like that. And since it's dialed back because of COVID, why don't we do something where it's a closed set every day and it kind of fits into the limitations? And then because we're kind of doing this like reduced kind of less of a risky kind of way of making the movie, let's do a really risky kind of idea. And I'm like, what would our third original film be? And I was like, well, let's go after the BDS community, because like I felt like body mods 10 years ago, everybody didn't really understand the body mod community. Now I feel kink has the same kind of witch hunt against it. So we were like, ooh, let's bring everybody on a 36-hour session and show them a thing or two.
Yeah, Hard Candy was definitely a huge inspiration. I loved it. But one thing that always made me feel uncomfortable about the film, other than that great surgery scene, is that Elliot Page was supposed to be underage. And it just made me uncomfortable to even have the suggestion that a child would be involved in that, because abusing a child is something that I absolutely cannot stand. So it started to develop the idea of, what if a guy tried to attack a girl? What if he couldn't? What if she was the devil? What if even though she was in a position where you thought that she was in a lesser position, you really quickly learned that she wasn't, and the story started to develop. And there's lots of different endings that we had in this as well. But one of the big takeaways is that we thought that, sex workers are really treated like they're not human. And I think that sex work is really sex therapy. It's like any therapy. You can get something out of it if you're doing it right. And dominatrixes especially, it is a profession that is far less sexual than people think. I mean, some people just want to be tickled and then hugged afterwards. It's not what you think it is. And there's such a huge component of healing. And then we have these barriers like religion that tell us, oh, it's a sin to do this. And I'm like, maybe, but maybe also not.
Yeah, it's like a 50 Shades of the Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, Mel Gibson will love this one.
Maybe.
Well, I found this such an interesting and a compelling film in some respects, and difficult to watch at other times. But that was obviously your intent, which is fine. I think sometimes audiences need to be somewhat shocked in terms of retribution that perhaps might need to be affected with the character played by Aramis Satorio. Tell me about finding him and him giving permission to be part of all of this.
Well, Aramis is someone that we've been a fan of for many, many, many years. He is actually also known as Tommy Pistol. He is one of the most famed hardcore porn stars in the world. He's been Ash in Evil Head. He's been the priest in Triple Exorcist. He's been Herbert West in The Repenetrator. So all these movies obviously got my excitement and my interest, but he also happens to be an independent filmmaker. So we crossed waves, and he liked our movie Dead Hooker in a Trunk. And I was like, how is my favorite adult film star aware that I exist? And we very quickly became friends. And he's such a good man.
Yeah.
He's an amazing father. He's an incredible comedian.
Yeah.
And he's such a good performer. And he's so dedicated, so kind, so sweet. And ever since we met him, we're like, Aramis, I love you. I'm going to do something with you. And he said, nah, I know. You guys are mainstream. It's okay. No one will ever allow lowly me to be in a movie. And I'm like, no, Aramis, you're a great actor. Like, think about James Dean. He crossed over.
Tracy Lord,
who is fantastic. With the late, great Marilyn Chambers.
Yeah.
So it was always something that we were, coming together. And then we wrote the script and we sent it to him.
And when we sent the script to him, I didn't hear from him right away. And I was afraid we ruined our friendship because I said, it's going to be hardcore. And we had a few phone calls and he kept being like, what is this guy like? Like, what, I don't want to play a horrible guy. I was like, well, just read it. Just see what happens to him. And then afterwards he read it and he was like, wow. He's like, no, I'm going to do this. And he's like, and I'm going to leave nothing behind. And oh my God, to make a movie like this, and huge testament to him and you, Jen, if those two people didn't 100% dedicate to what they were doing, you wouldn't be able to do that. But he was so vulnerable and he went there, and you don't usually get to see guys like that. And I thought it was really, really cool and really provocative. And God, thank God afterwards he said he still worked with me. So I guess, Peter, I didn't ruin the friendship.
Well done on that, especially the scenes of torture with his penis, or supposed penis. I thought, oh my God, this is powerful stuff.
Thank you. There was a very famous moment in Antichrist where Charlotte Gainsbourg clips.
Yeah.
I wanted to do an equivalent of that because I remember I was just very happily, or as happily as you can, watching a Lars von Trier film. And then that happened. It's like, how much more of this torture?
It was also fun because we had a dominatrix consultant who certified Jen as a dominatrix, who was on set telling us all, and even before was giving us all these fun pointers. And she was like, we were like, I want to tie a guy up. And she's like, shibari rope. And I was like, what's shibari rope? And she's like, ooh, shibari rope is special for tying people, and it ties every part of a person. And then we started going, what do you mean it ties every part of a person? Like, we were just like total like curious Catholic girls about it. I felt like, oh, well, I'm directing this movie so I can ask all the hard-hitting questions, and then put it in the movie. And I thought it was so fun. And that scene, I think Aramis deserves so much credit for, because that's insane. I've seen so many guys be like, why did you put that at the beginning of the movie? And I'm like, I'm sorry.
This is the one instance where the patron isn't in charge of the session, because we wrote it. And, as I created it, I was very inspired, especially the shibari rope scene, because I was like, what would I do? What would I do? Catholic guy, Catholic guilt comes in. You got to crucify him, right?
Right? He has to be
crucify
him. I think if people rewatch it and with a Bible next to them, they'll be like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to be watching On the Edge with their Bible next to them. Like, yep, they're definitely not coming to heaven.
Nope.
Well, that could be a sequel, perhaps, where the Bible, the revenge of, or something like that.
We would love to do a sequel. When we found out there are actual schools where you go to become a dominatrix or a master, we're like, that could be a series of movies. I want to learn more about every aspect of that. We were like, maybe we could even beg David Cronenberg to be like the master of spanking and be like, would you do a small cameo for us?
After A Dangerous Method, I think he would.
We'd be like, we promise it'll be hot.
Oh, I can see all sorts of offshoots of this film. It sounds
Right.
fantastic. Now, I mean, framing this film, and you've mentioned religious aspect, is the whole idea of hypocrisy, of sexual hypocrisy, of abuse that men in particular do perpetrate and don't, I suppose, get any comeuppance for. So I suppose what I also found very interesting in this film is this notion of seeking that revenge on a perpetrator, but doing it in such a way that's meaningful, so that he learns from this experience in the story, of course. So I suppose plotting the film must have been quite a task for you to get all of that process right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Between getting how most people plan a session to how that session was going to be catered to end up being a moralistic lesson, and how you bring someone to a point without pushing them too far right away and knowing when to release it. That was one of our absolute greatest challenges. Thankfully, because of our background, the Bible stuff was very, very easy to put in there, but the levels and the points where he would be given a break or given a chance to have a glass of water, that was more difficult to like time out and figure out when it was going to happen.
And also for the psychological aspect towards the end, that was kind of the funnest part, because as soon as we brought in psychedelics, we're like, ooh, now Aramis isn't a narrator. We can say what he's seeing is actually happening. And the first time you see that kind of like woo haze behind Mistress, you're like, oh, what is happening anymore? And then you kind of go into the psychology of the character, like, is any of this happening, or is he just some Catholic guy that went to a hotel room, did some mushrooms, and just imagined all these people? Like, even at the very end, we kind of give Mistress Satana a Mary Poppins disappearance. You're like, wait, was she ever there? And you're like, and it's funny because it almost ends on something a lot more wholesome than our films usually do. But I wanted people to see that no matter how horrible things get, there is something after it. There is an aftercare, there is an epilogue. You don't have to stay in that miserable place forever. And the sad thing is about it is you kind of see that Peter is the one who is his own ward, and he does keep putting himself back in that situation, and everyone around him is just so loving.
Yeah, that's how you actually like, I learned that when somebody has a session, they have a list of I have to do this, and they have a list of please absolutely do not do that. And the list of what they want and what they don't want has to do with the exact same abusive situation usually, but some things are acceptable and some things are triggering, like the cage being put back in the cage, the Polaroids, the stripping, the camera, all of that stuff, all of that forced performance. It goes back to going back to your trauma, but now you're in charge.
Yeah. Just like body modification, where it's putting pain and enduring pain, but you're the one in control of it, like a suspension. And then the pain doesn't feel the same way because it's all of a sudden a euphoric thing that you control.
Yeah, and trauma compounds. I mean, I don't want to reveal too much, but Peter didn't have a good childhood before what happened to him happened.
Yeah.
And those two things together are what made things awful. It's not just one or both incidents together. It's like this toxic environment that he was growing.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And I was always waiting for that safe word.
Us too. That's why it flashed red. I talked to the dominatrix that trained me. I said, so you have a guy booked for 36 hours, 20 minutes in, he calls red. What happens? And she's like, it's like a 36-hour session. You pay 36 hours, and then we probably just go for a beer after. But a lot of people, you know, especially if they have it in their head, like I'm going to do 48 hours or 36 or whatever. It's one way on paper or in an email, but actually being somewhere for 36 hours or 48, it is very difficult to do, even with a professional.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's where we took cinematic filmmaker license. Towards the halfway point, that would have been done. He would have had a glass of water. Go call your wife. It's fine. We're done. Oh, I only did 10 hours. Oh, maybe next time we'll try for 20. It's okay, dear. Not everyone makes 36 on the first, but you wanted to, you know? But and then I found it funny because a lot of people who do say the safe word and quit, they'll tell their dominatrix later, oh, I wish you pushed me. I could have done it. I was trying to get you to push me. I was trying to get you to keep doing it. And they're like, well, that's why we have the safe word. That's the ripcord. It's finished. That's why
the
safe word is red. That's why you can say, no, stop. I don't want it.
I changed my mind. Let me out of here. But once you say red, it's like when the bartender cuts you off. There's no coming back.
Yeah, lights are on. Go get your code. Uber's going to be here in 5.
I'll see you next time.
Oh, wonderful stuff. Now, the senator that we see at the start of the film, Mackenzie Gray, I think it is, plays the senator, and that sort of reveals the sort of religious hypocrisy that America seems to be under at the moment, with Trump and with the Me Too movement as well, and the treatment of women. So I like the way you put all of that into your storyline.
Oh, thank you so kindly. I don't understand these American politicians who want to destroy $1 billion worldwide industry. Like, think about your citizens. Where are all those people going to go? And also people who depend on that entertainment, a lot of people who are isolates or can't have those kinds of relationships. What are all those people going to do? And what kind of entertainment are they going to start consuming instead?
You can't get rid of porn. If you have a problem with it, make it safer for the people who work in it and make it an actual industry. Give them all their SAG union cards. I can't wait to see it. But they don't want to do it. And these guys almost always go on like some anti-porn message. And then it turns out they're a pedophile. And it's like, so they don't want normal, healthy sex between adults. But meanwhile, their secret is they're having an unhealthy sexual relationship.
Yeah, I think it was Niccolo Machiavelli who said one of the most important things is to always appear religious. Yeah. And these are bastards that know that they're doing something naughty. And they come along with this holier than thou attitude, condemning sex workers who already have a hard enough time as it is. They're just picking on, like, they're punching down.
Yeah, exactly. And it was cool because Mackenzie Gray, what I love about working with Mackenzie, he always brings so much more to it. That was supposed to be something kind of in the background. And we were talking, he's like, they always turn out to be pedophiles. They always have an anti-porn thing. And I was like, yeah, exactly. What else, man? That sounds great. And at the very end, he gets caught for it. I'm like, it's funny because he's talking about these people and that those lyrics are going over Aramis. And it's like, well, he's one of these people. You still think that way about him? And it's like, well, you can't, because you just seen him go through that whole experience. You love the guy now. And now you're like, well, you piece of shit on the TV. You're the bad guy. You're villainizing all these people for no reason.
I love the way you work together. You obviously, as twins, you are very simpatico to one another's thinking and feeling, and so you write things together and you direct things together and work together in a very natural sort of way. But tell me about your process. Do you find sometimes that you have tension on set, or that things don't always go the way that each of you perhaps would like it to go?
Well, I'm very lucky because we have almost 40 years of shorthand between us.
Oh, that's
so
right.
I don't need to get mad at her. I can stop talking and she's like, oh, she's pissed off.
I know. I can have silent arguments now, Peter.
Yeah. We're also Hungarian, between the telekinesis and the Hungarian under our breath. And I only remember all the swear words. But, you know, I would say the tensest times are ever in the editing room.
Yeah.
Because that's like the make or break moments. But we're such problem solvers on set that most of the time things go wrong. And I think, thank God I have my sister. Thank God I have another one of me. Every time I talk to one of my solo director friends, I'm like, sucks there's only one of you. What do you do when you got to go do this, but you have to do this at the same time? They're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, that's weird, because I do that and Sylvia would go do that. And then we'd meet up and, you know, that sucks for you. But most of the time, you know, I have, you know, another one of me. It's amazing.
I felt like one of those guys on set during this movie, though, because my director was in front of the camera. So I couldn't just lean over and be like, hey, I had to go, hey, that was really good. I think I'm going to move you here. And you'd be like, I think I'm going to do this. And it was still very cool, but I appreciate you more now.
I will say, I understand why our actors are scared of you. You are very intimidating, which you know. You are, because you're so direct and you're actually 100% right. And it's scary because it's like somebody has taken a magnifying glass and really seen you and been like, that's fantastic. hold your power though and do it half as fast. See the difference. And it's like, oh, she was right. She was right.
I think it's I must be like autistic or something because I don't have I sometimes miss the oh, how are you? Or the nice, like I'll even have to go back to emails and write, hello, how is your day? And then write the thing because I forget those things because I'm so result focused, especially when we're shooting. So I just try to give everybody a shorthand. Like I'll look at somebody and I think the smallest, most concise note is the best. So I'll be like, don't move your jaw and try to only growl when you talk and slow down.
That's a good note. Not for me, but a lot of actors hold their mouths open.
Yeah.
When they're surprised, and she'll always be like, close your mouth, you're not catching flies, close your mouth.
It makes you look, everybody's supposed to be so tough in my movie. So all I ever do is be like, this is how you look tough, or like
you're not modeling for me. We're in a movie. Close your mouth. Do you walk around with your mouth open? It's weird.
Unless something scary happens, then you go.
Yeah, I must get shocked, and you're like, that's fine. That's fine. That's different.
What great tips and techniques. I'm very, very impressed. And I love the way, I thought it was an in-joke more than anything else, that you cast another set of twins in the film.
Aren't they wonderful? That's Brienne Finn Morris and Alana Finn Morris, my movie daughters, and the rock band Theon. And they are just the most talented, wonderful twins. Jen and I have been working on a twin movie for years now. We've been quietly putting all of our twins together. And then when this movie came together, I was like, ooh, everybody's going to be way over 18 to even be in this movie. So the girls are in their 20s. And I was like, you guys could play teenagers. Would you like to be in the movie? And they're just so good, but they don't like horror movies, Peter. Like when we were doing the kitchen scenes, I remember at one point they're like, I have to go outside. I hear what you guys are doing and you sound really, really scary and it's just giving us anxiety. So we're just going to walk away until you're ready for us.
I also love working with twins. So rarely do twins ever get to direct twins. I mean, we direct twins, but we're directing each other. And then the Enton twins directed seconds apart, which was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
But very rarely do we ever get to direct twins. So as soon as we found Theon, even though they don't act a lot, I think they're very talented and they act in all their music videos. We convince them, please, you have to be in this horror movie. Even if you can never watch it, you have to be in it.
I think they're going to have to become horror girls because you're going to keep seeing them on our movies too. I just love them.
I also love to be able to talk to twins about the pressures that twins have because, you know, there's a pressure to look a certain way, to look identical. And then people still will be like, well, you're not real twins. I'm like, what do you know? I'm a twin.
Here's my twin card. You can have it.
Just the weird things people say to twins for no reason. Like, which one's the dirty one? I'm like, I know which one's going to be the hurting one, and it's going to be you.
Well, now that they've seen the movie, Jen, they're always going to assume it's both of us.
Now I'm the scary one forever.
Well, yeah.
Well, On the Edges is now releasing in Australia as part of Monsterfest, which is great to see. Are you already planning your next film?
We are. I don't know. I think it actually was in the trades.
Yeah, we can say a lot about it.
We are working with Radar, Prospero, and Film Mode on a sci-fi thriller called Unseen, which is an adaptation of a video game, which is about a couple in Boston that wakes up blind, and unfortunately there are things in the darkness also.
Sounds intriguing. Looking forward to it.
You can bring your mom to that one. Bring the whole family to that one. If you can't come to On the Edge, Unseen is for you.
Yeah, this one is a real emotional thriller. And again, people say that, oh, twins, you're too bloody. You have too many cuss words. When we pull the cuss words and blood out, we're really scary.
We're really scary.
I read this one and I'm like, whew, there are no moments to breathe in Unseen. There's just like, you'll get the edge of your seat, but you won't even need it. You're just going to be squatting over your seat like, oh my God, are they going to live?
Okay, maybe I lied. Maybe Unseen isn't for bring your whole family, let them run out screaming.
What a way to attract an audience. I love it. That's great. That's wonderful. Look, Jen and Sylvia Soska, it's been a pleasure talking to you. On the Edge, now screening in Australia, part of Monsterfest. And as always, a pleasure to talk to you, and I wish you well with your future films.
Oh, Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter. I hope to see you soon next year, hopefully with Unseen.
Yeah, we should be shooting it in the spring, so we'll come by with it.
Sounds good to me.
Oh,
Best.
thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye. Good to
Peter.
talk to you.
Bye.
Let me know if you need anything else.
Thanks, Justin.